What if you were able to wake up as the best version of yourself? A version of yourself that everybody else found so attractive that you would literally glow and crack people's glasses just because you walked in the room. This new version of yourself is also a lot stronger and far more agile than your original body. In this new body, everyone treats you differently. Now, they love it when you walk in the room. Everyone appreciates your company. But every single night, you have to come home to your original body and realize that this new version of yourself isn't you. You are still the person sleeping on the floor in front of you. This is Lookism, a Netflix original anime based off of a South Korean webtoon. In the past, I wasn't a huge fan of some webtoon adaptations, but let me just say Netflix has been doing an amazing job with choosing animations to pick up recently. Great Pretender, Kotaro Lives Alone, Uncle from Another World, Romantic Killer, all incredible shows, so I put my faith in this one even though I had no prior knowledge on it going in. And before we fully begin, I just want to say that I will be using the English names from the webtoon for the characters because I do not want to butcher the original names throughout this entire video, so thank you very much for your understanding. Lookism is a story about our main character, Daniel Park. Lookism's opening scene where the main character wakes up in a perfect dream body made me think that this might lean into a power fantasy type story, but I quickly realized how wrong I was. The main character is brutally bullied often in the first half of this show. Because of the constant harassment he deals with, he now fully believes that he is a loser. He belongs at the bottom and that is where he will stay. He has internalized what the people around him have told him and accepted it as fact. That is why he has fallen into the role that he has at his school. He basically works for this bully at his school named Logan Lee. But if you ask me, it's a terrible job. He has to oink like a pig and roll around on the ground for Logan's amusement. He should really consider putting in his 2 weeks as soon as possible.
I'm starting a new company, and the fish will come with me.
Some of the scenes in this anime are actually pretty hard to watch, and it makes you wonder how someone can do something so horrible to someone who has done nothing to them. But then you see the way that he treats his mother, and you feel a little less sorry for him.
Seriously? How many times do I have to tell you not to add eggs?
Oh, it slipped my mind. I'm sorry.
No wonder I keep gaining all this weight.
Are you sure about that?
Don't get me wrong though, I think that this is a more realistic depiction of how someone would act if they were getting bullied to this degree. Someone who is going through this isn't exactly going to be radiating sunshine and farting out rainbows, and his mother to some degree gets that. You can tell from the small interactions that happen during her first 4 minutes of screen time that she really does love her son. She also understands that she hasn't been able to provide the best life for him and believes that he deserves a lot better than what she has been able to give him. And while Daniel isn't the greatest son, he definitely doesn't deserve the torture he has been receiving at school. So he asks his mom if it would be okay to transfer schools. And she says, "Looky here, kid, we are turbo broke. We are living in a hut. Do you got transfer school money? No? I didn't think so. I hate you, Mom." But then his mom sees why he really wants to transfer schools. A group of people have gathered to watch 2 contestants try to see who can hit him in the face with a soccer ball first, which is actually terrible. Like, what is wrong with these kids? Logan was not good enough to hit Daniel in the face first, which angers him. So he starts taking it out on Daniel until his mother sees what is happening and forces them to stop. Everyone now thinks that he called his mother here to save him. So he decides to shout,
Stop it! This is so f***ing embarrassing!
Which, personally, and this might just be me, but I don't think that was the right move. Later, when he arrives back home, his mother wants to sit down and talk with him. He wants to apologize for what he said earlier, but before he can, his mom cuts him off and tells him that she is willing to let him transfer schools, but unfortunately she won't be able to go with him. He would live in a small house that was close enough to walk to the school. Daniel was ecstatic. He was going to be able to move away from his tormentors and start with a clean slate at a new school. However, Daniel quickly finds himself in the same type of predicament that he had at his old school. He becomes the loser and victim of bullying very quickly. Like world record pace, actually. And I think that while this situation is a bit over-exaggerated, for real life, it does capture an important life lesson. Sometimes it doesn't matter where you go or who you interact with. If you want a lasting change, you have to start with yourself. And Daniel is still the same person he was yesterday. He still believes everything that his prior bullies have told him. Now, this is a brutal scene that is very difficult to watch. Even though you can see the social mistakes that Daniel makes, this beating is in no way justified. Daniel cries himself to sleep that night, but when he wakes up, he does not see himself in the mirror. He is now in his dream body. But his former self doesn't just vanish. He didn't mysteriously transform into a model. The real Daniel Park is still sleeping on the floor. And this is what I love about lookism. In power fantasy anime, they typically try to find a way to get rid of the person that the main character used to be. So they will get transported to another world with new abilities, they will do a time skip, or they will die in the beginning and get reincarnated as someone else. They will always talk about how awkward they were or how much of a loser they used to be, but the person that we see now never has any sort of resemblance to the old version of themselves that they talk about. The reason for that is simple. It's escapism. Which is fair. Most media wants to take you away from your daily problems, and there is nothing wrong with that. But that is why, for me personally, when a show decides to keep the problem in plain sight, it really stands out. Daniel decides to start going to school in this new body that he got. And how is he able to do this, you might ask? The short of it is that whenever one body is awake, the other body is asleep. Both bodies cannot be awake at the same time. So what he does is he gets a part-time job on the night shift for his original body, and he goes to school during the day in his new body. And since he just transferred to a new school where no one knew what he looked like, he just goes to the school and reveals himself as Daniel Park. But now that he is in his new dream body, everyone around him starts treating him differently. Everyone is actually being nice to him. They are talking to him as if he were an actual human being. It's weird. He has an amazing day at school, and on his way home, he even goes for a run after realizing how light his new body feels. He is having a wonderful time and recognizes how nice it is to have this other body that he can escape to. But slowly throughout this show's run, it starts to become apparent to him that an escape is all this is. Interactions that he has in one body obviously do not transfer over to the other one. The relationships that he has with people differ depending on which body he is currently inhabiting. This makes him realize that while he has two bodies, there is only one of him. Even when Daniel is in the new body, he is still very timid and awkward. Yes, the way that he is treated is very different now, but the way that he treats others at first stays the same. He is passive in forming relationships, he avoids conflict, but as time goes on, he starts to reach out to other people. He starts to stand up for the people who are getting bullied around him. He starts to realize that he doesn't have to be the person that he believed that he was. What people say about you definitely can hold a lot of weight, but the thing is, it doesn't have to. At the start of lookism, he believed that he would always be fat, he would always be a loser, that he belonged at the bottom and that is where he should stay. But that was only true because Daniel believed that it was true. Daniel started to like who he was. As his mindset started to change, all he needed was one small push. At this moment, Basco came into the convenience store that he works at and gave him exactly what he needed. He tells Daniel that he is not a weakling and that he should train. Daniel realizes that he will remain the same if he continues to live as he has. So he decides right then and there to start training. Feeling inspired, he drops down and starts doing push-ups immediately. And he's only able to do 2 push-ups before he farts, and a beautiful girl immediately walks in. But the thing is, he started. Daniel decided that he wanted to change and immediately took initiative. He didn't say, "Oh, I'll start next week. Oh, I'll start tomorrow." No, he dropped down in the middle of the convenience store and started his workout. This is a really cool moment because normally we will have thoughts like this ourselves, but generally we are too nervous to actually say these things out loud. But remember, you could be somebody else's Bosco, so if you ever think that someone can accomplish something, let them know. It will probably sound pretty weird and you will probably feel very awkward, but you never know how close someone is to making that change. By the way, Basco is an amazing character. He is a complete nut job and I love it. Basco is a 16-year-old high school student who is the leader of the infamous Burn Knuckle Gang. He is one of the strongest characters in the entire series, and he achieved this level of strength by doing 100 push-ups, 100 pull-ups, 100 squats, followed by a 10-kilometer run every day for 2 years straight. I hope that you get that reference. He defends the weak and annihilates the strong with his overwhelming strength. He is a man who is feared far and wide, but will also shed tears after asking a simple question like, is he popular? Something that I love about this series is that it isn't like a typical anime, and that's because it was adapted from a webtoon as opposed to a manga. The manga industry is pretty cutthroat, especially in the world of Shonen Jump. Because of this, manga tend to only take the successful parts of previous works, which sounds like a good idea in theory. I mean, why would you take the things that people thought were bad? But when you do this, it starts to reach a point where anime feels too refined. Like, take this anime for example. This anime. I like this anime. I think that it is well done, but I also have zero attachment to this anime, and I forgot that it even existed as soon as the season was over. I realize that this sounds completely insane, but having this rugged exterior is part of what gives Lookism its charm for me. There are some awkward interactions between people sometimes. The main character gets bullied so hard that he becomes a K-pop idol. Like, yeah, Lookism isn't the most refined piece of media in the world, and Bosco looks like he could be a JoJo's character, but trust me, this is a high school student. Thanks for taking me to work with you today, Dad. Like, seriously, is nobody gonna check some of these kids' birth certificates? I think that its flaws also helped me enjoy the series, which sounds kind of weird to say, but it's true. Lookism is a show about a boy that at first glance looks like he is given an escape in the new body that he is given, but what he actually gets is another perspective to help him improve himself. It makes him realize that no matter where you are, even if it's in an entirely different body, that you still are who you are, and you can't run from that. If you are unhappy with yourself, then you have to be the one to make a change. Seeing Daniel at some of his lowest points, but after everything still being able to pick himself up, start working out, and treat people better is inspiring. Lookism was a lot of fun to watch, and I hope that my goofy jumbled praise makes you want to give it a watch yourself. I'm really looking forward to a season 2 of Lookism if it gets one, and just remember, you don't have to believe in yourself. Believe in me. Believe in the me that believes in you, and I'll see you in the next video.